Faith Radio.
I'm a kid, so I call it KFAN.
I'm an adult, and I also call it KFAN, like 98.7% of the world. And welcome to KFAN. It's FM 100.3 KFAN. And it's a currently kind of a cloudy Wednesday here in the neighborhood. The neighborhood being the 651 Carpets Plus Studios, just to the west of Erotic City. Copyright Prince Rogers Nelson. May God rest his soul. And the master mixer of that Monday morning montage on a Wednesday is Eric Nordquist. And he is the decade-long producer of 9 to Noon. I'm your host, Paul Allen. And just a couple of quick questions as we commence festivities here from the 651 Carpets Plus Studios. And good morning. Remember a week ago when we started breaking down how well Lou Dort checks Anthony Edwards? I'll ask you to find the explosion next time. All right, 3-2. Remember a week ago when we started breaking down how well Lou Dort checks Anthony Edwards? The flowers were blooming, the skies were sunny, the roads were sans repair at every turn, and the Timberwolves were killing the world champions. Remember when we played basketball games where we didn't charge 3 consecutive trips down the court with guys wide open for 3? Remember
9 to Noon.
Remember when last Thursday I purchased a little hand broom with the thought of sneaking it into Target Center for Sunday's Game 4 and the sweeping of the world champions? All righty. Well, what do you have to say for yourself now, Mr. Mad Producer?
Well, admittedly, I've spent the last 20 seconds just listening at Sounders. How about this?
That's why I got to stay in my lane with the sound effects. Hold on. All right, 3-2. Good morning. Remember a week ago when we started breaking down how well Lou Dort checks Anthony Edwards? I mean, the flowers were blooming, the skies were sunny, the roads were sans repair at every turn, and the Timberwolves were killing the world champions. I laughed. I guess that falls under the category of it only hurts when you laugh, or you only laugh when it hurts. An empty mind can become the devil's playground.
Well, I like Anthony Edwards talking about Jokic, basically saying the same thing.
I just laugh. That's all I can do. I mean, I can't be mad.
Hey,
because he good, man. I think I said that after game 1 when we won, and in game 2, like he the MVP, he's the best player in the NBA.
You laugh to keep from crying.
As part of the Monday morning montage on a Wednesday, and good morning. The clip you played near the end with Alan Horton calling the play, and then Jim Peterson sliding over from TV to radio and doing second to none work, where my man's like, that's how you handle a big evening like this. You accept the MVP trophy, and then you score 40 points with 13 assists and 7 rebounds, and just absolutely dominate everything that is of Howl Nation. It's not Howl anymore. I'd like to say eliminate the L, but we got 3 of them. But if you eliminate the L, then you get Howl. And that segues beautifully into Thursday, like beating them all of a sudden, like Howl. Like Howl, Howl, L, 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 L.
Well, yeah, it's not Howl. It's totally Howl. Remember a week ago.
It's Howl now, Brown Nordo.
When, and it was a bit of revisionist history, but with the way the season had gone, if you had ever questioned the trade for Rudy Gobert, you were now the biggest idiot on the planet, right?
Yeah.
And you remember back to when it happened. You remember how things started. You missed Cat for 50 games. There were a lot of questions about it, all those first-round picks.
Like that tweet you put out last night at Mad Producer 1 with the how it started and how it is ending with the GIFs and the GIFs. That was pretty sweet. And I didn't call you a cow. I was trying to do a how now brown cow. Good morning.
But the Gobert conversation last night in that game where if you're looking at box scores, you're loving the efficiency of his offense and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But a week ago, we're lauding Pobo and how it looks like a PA, and I had Scott Hastings, who's kind of Denver. He's almost Denver immortality. He's got TV and radio gigs out there. Ended his career with the Nuggets, won a ring with the Pistons.
Wow!
And if you would have heard any of that segment PA last Friday, when you were out, you would have heard a guy sounding defeated. You would have heard a guy sounding completely resigned to the idea that the champs, we've heard it, no champ has gone the next season through to the second round in the last 5 years. This is going to happen again. The Wolves are plus 290 to win the title. The only team with better odds is Boston, all of that. But he talked about it, that Connolly almost intentionally built this team to dismantle, to deconstruct the Nugs. Right. That was a week ago. Fast forward, watching the MVP taking that moment by storm. As Jim Pete said on the call.
By storm.
1v1 versus the MVP versus the DPOY. If the DPOY could shut down the MVP, he'd be the MVP.
He
couldn't do it last night.
I love how you brought that up because, like analyzing immortality, Jim Peterson put it. Now, that's how you handle a night you accept the MVP trophy. You roll out there and you score 40 with 13 assists and a couple of steals and a block, and you look like the best of the best ever to best in the history of best. Because we're not that far removed from last Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, the NBA sixth man of the year, Naz Reid. Then they played the game. Or Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, the NBA's four-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. And then they played the game. Jokic did it again after the game last night. I might get into this a little bit tomorrow, and I know we got Jamal Murray heat pack throwing terrorism. But like some of these things that I see on social media with people trying to really dislike certain members of the Denver Nuggets, Jamal Murray was not throwing the heat pack at a Timberwolves player. He was throwing it at an overmatched ref. So with that said, it's like, man, the Nuggets are like a likable team. I like the Denver Nuggets. I've always liked the Denver Nuggets. I've always liked Nikola Jokic. I've always liked Jamal Murray. Aaron Gordon going out of body. All right. I guess you can say stop it. But, Michael Porter Jr. lost all of his lunch money and his late minutes to Christian Brown last night. So my man might have something going on a little bit.
How can you not like Aaron Gordon, though, too?
Right.
He was borderline all-star caliber.
Yeah.
A little bit removed from winning dunk contests and, bright lights, brighter future in Orlando. But when he went to Denver...
Yeah.
And really accepted being, I'm going to be the side piece.
Yeah.
I'm going to be, when Jamal and Jokic don't have it and they need something and people forget about Gordon, I'll be there in the corner.
Yeah.
He is going out of body.
Yeah.
But when you go into this series and you're like, I need one of those three, Jokic, Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. to disappear.
MB3.
And whether it's what we're doing, again, guy's got the world on his shoulders right now in his personal life. But he hasn't shown up in this series for Gordon to do what he's been doing, and he freaking did it again last night. I just, as Hans said, I just laugh.
Yeah.
Because it's that good right now.
Well, you know who traded for Aaron Gordon? It was Tim Connolly.
Sure did.
Turnabout is fair play, though. All right, so let's just go ahead and win tomorrow night, and let's do so here. So even if we howl into the offseason out there with Game 7, at least the devoted, the beloved, get to see a victory. Like one in a row for Darko. One in a row for Darko. One in a row for Darko. Fire some talkbacks our way, please, on how you as a homie to the Howl are feeling this morning. I'm tired. Nordo is a mad producer. And young Maxwell cried. It's the free iHeartRadio app, and you absolutely should know the drill by now. And we will play some of those talkbacks next segment and quite honestly drop them in during the course of the radio presentation. The set list is courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. Double T, Trent Tucker, he's basketball immortality. The professor of hoopology, joins about 11 o'clock, preceded by young Alec on basketball, buffoonery, and football. And he's preceded by what I'm sure will be a very cheery conversation with Mike Florio from ProFootballTalk.com. Good morning. Welcome to 9 to noon. Nordo has the cash thing. Talkbacks and takes and talkers around the corner.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand. It's the National Cash Contest. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword grand. You might win $1,000 with the keyword grand at KFAN.com.
I spent $9.99 on a baby broom last week to sneak it into Target Center Sunday and hold it up for the symbolic sweep. What in the hell was I doing? The king of the Rubes and Timberwolves season ticket holder, Jimmy Knutson, joining us now. Good morning, King.
Good morning, PA. This is better than a talkback, man. I mean, it's this thing on? Is it working?
Yeah, it's we blow the dust and the cobwebs off the antiquated phone call system. And here you are at 800-320-5326. Are you sad?
I am not sad. You know why I'm not sad, PA?
Why?
I get to go to a second round Game 6 at Target Center in like the middle of May. Mm-hmm. I've been able to do second round basketball in this town for 20 years. So
but you've already,
nobody should be sad right now.
But you've done it twice with games 3 and 4, and you had your metaphorical head bashed in. Why do you want more?
I want more because I want to see a team grow. I want to see a fan base grow.
Yes, sir.
I want people to actually believe. I was in that thing called the Metrodome in 1991 when the Twins rolled in down 3-2. My mom took me to Game 6. Little puffy Jimmy K, 10 years old. I didn't know whether I believed or not, or whether I was sad or not, or excited. Mm-hmm. But we hopped on a guy's back. We got to hop on Anthony's back right now, man. We just do. I mean, all these people that thought we were going to win a title when we were up by 2.
Right?
Do you still think we're going to win a title? I mean, seriously, you can't say that stuff and then just be like, oh, no, they suck now.
Good point. Very good point. A very good point. And it's to be expected from the king of the Rubes with the single-season ticket behind the basket by the Wolves bench. Now, the Pinstripes of Immortality were in town, or are in town, but they played the Twins yesterday. And of course, they beat the Twins, and you being the king of the Rubes, the assumption into it was that you would attend said game because that's what King of the Rubes does. But yours truly, 9 to noon, had sources at Target Field that indicated, in very rare fashion, the king left a game early.
Oh my gosh!
I really trusted that, I had my Twins jersey and I could pull it up over my head and walk out of Target Center. But, when you wear the crown, thus comes a little bit of responsibility.
Right.
Shame on me for leaving in the 9th inning to get home to, watch my favorite basketball team. Mm-hmm. The garage slobs were ready. We were all primed for a win last night. But I'm just going to lay it out like this, PA.
Do it.
When the Wolves win on Thursday, okay?
Yeah.
Then Sunday rolls around. Here's the plan. And you already said you're in.
I did.
Nordo's on the grill in my garage. So bring over whatever kind of meat you got, Nordo. And PA, you're posting up in the big puffy leather chair.
Oh, geez.
And we're watching Game 7 win from my garage on Sunday.
Oh, geez. Mad producer, we were just invited to something. What do you think?
Well, that'll mean that we went to a Game 7. So. Yeah, no problem with that.
Yeah, no problem with that. Yeah, that's fair. That means it's a Game 7. We howl as one. We can add to the slobbery that would be the garage slobs, whatever that is.
But hold on. Can we get like KFAR from Brooklyn Park? Can we get Juice Vox? I mean, let's bring all of the hardcore, long time, 9 to noon callers over there.
Yeah.
Is
get
Kenny
the party
Farr
going.
allowed in St. Paul? That's the question.
The question is Kenny Farr alive?
I always love that.
Not allowed. I mean, like 9 phone numbers ago, I think I used to hear from him. All right, in closing here, you being the king of the Rubes, and yours truly in attendance for games 3 and 4, and I'm in section 113, and I'm looking over at the king behind the basket. What's the contraption you have? Like when the crowd is going, defense. What's the horn thing that you hold and you blow into or yell into the defense thing?
Oh, when I'm getting everybody all jacked up in section 101 over there, that would be a crunch howler.
What?
The Wolves were cool enough to re-release the crunch howler that they invented in 1989. And
wow.
I mean, it's literally the greatest giveaway next to the Nasri towel.
Yeah.
And I bring them both. Why not?
You did not bring a French horn to Target Center. We can confirm that.
Right. Well, you're the king of the Rubes, and 9 to Noon is a radio show for, of, and with, and conducted by Rubes. So, I mean, it made sense that last Thursday I purchased a little baby broom I was going to try to sneak into Target Center.
I always love that.
For Sunday, so I can hold it up and get it. I'm going to try to hold it up and get on TNT or whatever, like Zach Halverson in his tweets. King, your positivity is A, not surprising, and B, much needed here in the Love Covenant. We love you very much, and if there's a Game 7, well, my brother, it's a date, so let's howl tomorrow night, okay?
Love you, boys. Let's get the W.
Later.
See you, Jimmy.
That's Jimmy Knutson, Jimmy K, long-standing member of the Love Covenant. Back to the DA and Scooby days, and he is the king of the Rubes with that super special single-season ticket in Section 101. He's had all by himself for about 15 years.
Talkbacks via the free iHeartRadio app. You listen on the app. You just hit that microphone. Give us up to your best 30 seconds. The Davenport of Love is in play.
Hey, Nordon, PA. CJ here. Man, that game was so frustrating last night. Joker, nobody can stop him. Cat did an all right job on him, but Rudy, man. Defensive Player of the Year could not even stop the MVP. He was cakewalking all over the Defensive Player of the Year. The series got me worried, man, going back to Minnesota. But still have faith in my howl. Howl!
Thank you, CJ. This is hashtag Faith Radio. Now, with Rudy Gobert, when I get into some Love Covenant quickies from last night, Rudy Gobert played defense manned up against Nikola Jokic, mostly as well as a human being can possibly play somebody that gifted and talented. And whether it's MVP guy with the sneaky left-handed scoops or the runners and hitting shots off wrong feet, I mean, I don't know what else anybody possibly could have done singled up against Nikola Jokic last night. And if you doubled, well, then he passes, and then all of a sudden something called Christian Brown stealing Michael Porter Jr.'s minutes late in the game. Well, he's wide open, and he's burying threes. So it was a very, very tough night at the office last night. Talkback time.
Talkback time, free iHeartRadio app. This is actually something that I wanted to get into, so I'm glad this Talkback brought it up.
Hey, guys, Ben here. I feel like I have the moment where the game started to get away from us. The technical foul on Mike Malone. I was all amped up. But then the 3 charges in a row on our players, I felt like that was just absolutely insane. Like, I feel like one of the 3 was probably a normal charge call. They gave him 3, and I feel like ever since that moment, the game started to slip away from us.
And there was a 4th one in the mix. Now, the second quarter last night.
Context is required.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not big cherry pick guy and just let it go. It right before the T and the charges, we're conveniently forgetting the elbow to the face of the MVP that was missed. So, I mean, it was a violent elbow that 2 refs saw. And so, I mean, that's part of the equation, too. You know,
well, it's part of the equation that leads to the tech.
Hold on, please. With all due respect, the 3 charges consecutively, I absolutely agree with the talkback. Absolutely. It tilted the game, tilted the momentum, and it was reckless. They were playing recklessly. And, okay, you can think one of the charges might have been legit, But when you put your head down and you play recklessly, those are things officials look for. So they don't necessarily only see the charge. They see the reckless nature that leads to it, that puts their mind in a spot thinking there's going to be a charge. The thing that got me with the charges, anybody happen to see, players wide open around the arc? Just like, here, kitty, just waiting for somebody to, not have their head down when they're dribbling, kick out for a 3-point shot, not saying we would hit it. That was the A topic for me off that, is we just left money on the table on those charges. We had guys wide open for 3, and good morning.
What I think, though, again, is the idea of the technical, because what he's leading to is that the technical, getting in the ref's face, getting teed up, and putting that in the ref's heads, that then leads to the charges. Do you see an aspect of that, where you're talking about them playing reckless? I didn't see, I think it was Nas on one. Was it Ant or Cat? Definitely had
Holiday
one.
took 2, Porter took 1. Both on Holiday were good calls.
Well, Gordon took one of those 3.
Okay,
sure.
Holiday took 2, and they when you head into the paint with reckless abandon, and your head is down, and you're not looking at what's ahead of you. Not only are you not seeing what's ahead of you, you're not seeing the guys wide open outside. It was irresponsible, inefficient, reckless basketball, and it's 96% the fault of the Chargers for dribbling with their heads down. This is the NBA. This ain't middle school. Pick your head up, man, and kick the ball outside like you're supposed to do, so somebody gets an opportunity for a 3. And off what you're saying and the talkback said is I think Malone has put in the minds of the referees, with the sneaky meetings they have before games, these guys charge. These guys come in here with reckless abandon and they charge, and you're missing a bunch of them. There seemed to be a grave overcorrection.
Well, and that's where I'm looking at. I think there was an overcorrection where, in that short amount of time where you have the tech and the charges there, and I think for a team that had so many troubles at one point last night, I think they were minus 20 in the paint.
Yeah,
I like them getting to the hoop and forcing the action.
Agreed.
So I see the game plan there. I see the assertiveness. I love that.
Agreed.
And just the timeliness of it post tech was a little bit was not jarring per se, but those two things fit together.
Oh, it was a momentum changer. I mean it's like, okay, so the crowd now is going nuts. Malone might have gotten what he wanted. A Gobert violent elbow was missed, which would offset one of those things. Stop dribbling with your head down and find guys wide open for 3, specifically against world champions. That's the coffin of all coffins ever to coffin on the 3 consecutive charges that just piss me off beyond belief, that they're dribbling with their heads down at this level of basketball. And off that, okay, it's a momentum changer and maybe a gut punch, but there was still ample time left in the quarter. So game 4, the 8-0 over 20 seconds with Murray from 60, well, that just bury him right now.
Yep.
I mean, the 7 to the 15, and they're celebrating in front of Kevin Harlan, and you got Lifetime Fitness guy in his seat, applauding Jamal Murray, even though my man's on our side. So I understand. And there were just so many things last night that transpired where it's the Timberwolves were kept at arm's distance. I mean, it's like you there was a point you needed score, stop, score, stop, score, stop, score, stop. And they'd get score, stop, score. And then it would be an and one.
Yep.
It'd be whomever would score and get fouled, and then index fingers all straight in the air, everybody, and together we go boo
every time
as they go limp. Basically every time.
Every time you felt there might be a run, there might be hope. And frankly, last night it was always Jokic. It was always Jokic with the basket. It was always Jokic backing down Rudy. It was Jokic in the end one. Jokic with that 3 late in the game.
Yeah.
But the second quarter, the T-Wolves do ultimately take the lead in the third. That's why, like, even getting, like, I don't see that necessarily as, like, the game was over in that moment.
Yeah.
The second quarter, I felt like I was watching Division III basketball at times. I mean, what was that, a 3 or a 4 minute stretch?
Yeah.
With no points on the board?
Yeah.
And it was turnover here, bad pass there, head shaken every single where. And, I mean, it was brutal. But a game of runs. You mentioned the 8-0 stretch in game 4. Game 3, 29-9, first quarter into second quarter. Game 4, 26-4, Nuggets run. First quarter into second quarter. Last night, I think the T-Wolves start the third quarter with an 11-3 run, and the Nuggets go 23-8 over the next handful of minutes. Wow. The runs, man. I mean, there's just these 4 or 5 minute stretches.
Yep.
As good as the Nuggets close out quarters, like they played a deadline so well. It's really impressive. But just those 4 or 5 minute stretches where everything's going your way, and then there's like, well, okay, we're just going to hit that three. We're going to make that extra pass.
Yeah.
Caldwell Pope with 4 triples last night.
I know.
I mean, in all of my league freak his life, fantasy hoops, loving basketball mind.
I know.
I mean, he's a mid-round pick if we're going to get the KCP we got last night. Unbelievable.
The Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com is next. The metaphor for the night for me, it was symbolic not only of the night, but really of how the series has turned. There was perfect symbolism for last night right after the final buzzer. I don't know if you or anybody else saw this. Game's over. In single file order, Mike Conley, Karl Anthony Towns, and Finchie were all caught on camera limping their way into a dark tunnel. They all were limping and limping badly, heading to the locker room with heads down and a collective countenance of chagrin. Their howl had been replaced by the gnashing of teeth and torment.
PFT.
My ding-a-ling, my ding-a-ling. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good.
Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com. Your son, young Alexander, after last night, is he still looking for seats to a Western Conference Finals game and a trip to Minnesota and Mancini's? And good morning.
What happened last night?
The Timberwolves lost at Denver, and they got blown out again. They've lost 3 consecutive games, and we now trail the series 3-2. And good morning.
Well, it's good to see a home team finally won one of the games. Wasn't that the trend? Weren't the home teams losing?
Well, what about you?
Kind of like what World Series? The Twins World Series in '87. The home team won every game, right?
Okay. Right? Sure. But young Alexander, what about your son? We
haven't talked about it, which tells me that it's no longer on his radar screen.
Really?
He hasn't mentioned it. I didn't even know the outcome of last night's game.
But young Alexander, last one here. Why is the young man, this young man from West Virginia, home to Mountain Mama, such a fan of Minnesota sports? It can be tough, my brother, as you know.
Well, it's unrelated to the Vikings. It's more related to the fact that he went to a Timberwolves game with a couple of family members when we were up there for the Super Bowl several years ago. So he's become partial to the Timberwolves. So it just kind of happened. It's proximity more than anything else. Wherever the Super Bowl would have been that year, if he had gone to a basketball game, then that's the team that he would be paying attention to, I assume. So he said to me he wants, and we've been there several times. He loves coming up there. We go to Mancini's. We hang out. We have a good time. So his last trip there was not very fruitful. It was for the Cowboys' blowout loss right before Thanksgiving a couple of years ago. So I think he'd like to go up and get a palate cleanser, but it sounds like that's not in the cards this year unless the Timberwolves can turn it around and win the last 2.
Oh, geez. ProFootballTalk.com has changed quite dramatically the last 45 minutes from when I played Covenant Catch-Up this morning with some of these questions. So let's begin here. Netflix lands the 2 2024 Christmas games. Any shocker to that, or what do you think?
Well, just the fact that the NFL would have its existing slate of broadcast partners, NBC, CBS, Fox, ESPN, Amazon, Google, YouTube for Sunday Ticket, and they go completely off the board and bring a new broadcast partner to the table in the second year of the current broadcast deals, which run through 2033, but the NFL can pull the plug after 2029, and I think it will, and put all the packages back out to bid, and Netflix will be at the table, I assume. So I would guess that the folks at Amazon are very pissed about this, and I was in New York on Monday for the upfronts, and we have meetings and presentations, and you mingle with a lot of people. And one of the things I picked up was Amazon was making a late push to try to keep those games. Whatever it wasn't enough. Netflix has the 2 games on Christmas Day. Those same 4 teams will play in a different configuration on Saturday the 21st, and we still don't know who those teams are. But Netflix will have those 2 games. Remember, the NFL said up until late March it wasn't going to play on Christmas this year. And I think that this whole process of reconfiguring the schedule, selling those 2 games to the highest bidder, I think that all contributed to the delay in the release of the schedule.
Okay. Secondly, as PFT, we is vast and ever expanding and ever changing. From 43 minutes ago, no. Written by Mike Florio, no. Kirk Cousins would not have signed with the Falcons if he had known their draft plan. What's that one about?
Well, and this is just an interpretation and analysis of his comments yesterday when he was asked, would you still have signed with the Falcons if you'd known they were going to use the 8th overall pick, not on someone who was going to make the team better while you're on it, but on your replacement, Michael Penix Jr.? He said, I don't get into hypotheticals, which is basically anything but yes. If it's yes, I still would have signed with the Falcons, he says yes. Anything other than yes, he says I don't get into hypotheticals. And I think at best it would have been, well, I would have had more questions. Maybe I would have wanted different protections in my contract, whatever the case may be. They pulled the rug out from under him. They led him to believe he's the guy. And now he's got a rookie top 10 pick lingering over his shoulder at a time when he's trying to rehab his Achilles tendon. Sims and I were talking about this today. He's going to push himself harder to get back. And he's going to maybe overcompensate for the inability to push off on his throws and put too much arm into them, and he's going to wake up one day and his elbow's going to be sore. And if Penix performs well, and let's say Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix all come out of the gates looking like competent high-end NFL quarterbacks, more pressure on the Falcons to flip to Penix. This is just a big, ugly mess. And I believe, not that they lied to him, I think they created an environment, an atmosphere where there's no way in hell they're going to use the 8th overall pick on Michael Penix Jr. There's no way they're going to do that.
Yeah.
They're all in with Kirk. He wants to win a Super Bowl. Well, you can still win a Super Bowl if the 8th overall pick isn't devoted to a quarterback, but this was a prime opportunity to use a significant asset to make the team better while Cousins is on the team. It really is amazing they did it. And again, by him saying anything other than, yeah, I still would have signed here, the answer is no or something like it.
How about this whole dirty bird vibe right now? I mean, they pull the wool over the $100 million guaranteed quarterback's eyes. Penix Jr. comes in. We got the tampering thing looming over the team. Other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play, right?
It really is strange. And, in hindsight, now, maybe they just completely fell in love with Penix after the ink was dry on the contract with Kirk, and that's fine. But don't you do enough work before you fall in love with Penix to realize there's a possibility we will? A private workout where he's throwing on air. Haven't you scouted him? Haven't you been to his games? Haven't you done the work? Haven't you come to the conclusion that this might be a guy we want, so maybe we're not going to guarantee $100 million to a 36-year-old as of August quarterback who we lead to believe he's going to have the chance to retire here? Hell, he was on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast talking about he wants to finish this contract and do another one. Well, it isn't going to happen in Atlanta. He said that, his agent, after they signed the contract, says, see you in 3 years for the extension. There's going to be an extension in 3 years. He might only make it 1 year. I think 2 years is the over-under for Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. It might ultimately be 1 year because his contract is very tradable into next year. Now, they will have given him $62.5 million for 1 year, but next year's $27.5 is fully guaranteed. That's $27.5. You get Kirk Cousins for $27.5 for 2025 if you're looking for a quarterback and they're ready to move on. So he could be gone in as little as 1 year. I think 2 years is the more likely one. I'd be very surprised if he's there 3 years. There's no way he's there 4 years. There's no way Michael Penix Jr. is sitting the bench for 4 years. Whatever they saw in him to make them love him is going to make them put him on the field before 4 years from now. And again, I think 2 years is the absolute most, and there's a chance by next year at this time we're talking about wherever Kirk Cousins is as his new team for 2025, and Penix is QB1 in Atlanta.
The best.
Football feast.
ProFootballTalk.com.
Florio.
So the Vikings get Aaron Rodgers in London for what could be an international thriller. What do you think of all that? And by the way, happy schedule release day.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to waiting until 8 o'clock tonight to find out what all the games are. I've been saying they should take the full week over. On Monday, announce the Sunday night games. On Tuesday, announce the Monday games. On Wednesday, do the Thursday games. Thursday morning, tell us the Christmas games and the Thanksgiving games, and then drop the rest of them on Thursday night. You can take over the entire week with no games being played. You got 3 other Major League sports going on, 2 in the postseason. The NFL would own the entire week. I'm amazed they haven't done it yet. Maybe it's just to spite me because I've been saying it for 3 years now that they should do it. Regardless, tonight's the night we find out. And I think this is good for the Vikings. If you're giving up a home game anyway, give up a home game where the road quarterback has a built-in advantage because he's played so many games there.
Right.
I mean, it kind of hurts the Jets to not have that game in Minnesota because I think Rodgers was looking forward to coming back to an NFC North city. And, you know, he's ripped out the Vikings' hearts there. Now, he did break a collarbone there at one point, right? Remember that?
Yep.
Anthony Barr hit him. I don't know. He thought it was a little late, but he held on to the ball a little long, waiting for his tight end to pop open, so it's kind of on him. But I think he would have very much liked to come back to U.S. Bank Stadium. Instead, Minnesota hosting, air quotes, hosting the Jets. And the Jets, they start their schedule week 1 at San Francisco. I don't know who they pissed off at 345 Park Avenue, but 22 and 23, tough starts to the season. We don't know weeks 2, 3, and 4, but week 1, Monday night, across the country, short week, right out of the gates. You're flying home late Monday night to New York to get ready for your week 2 game. And who knows who it's going to be. Then week 3, week 4, fly over to England to take on J.J. McCarthy and company. The Jets are people try to find a way to get glass half full with this, but man, I think the Jets have another problem looming this year.
Hey, with today being schedule release day, and PFT will file reports if you believe them to be accurate from reliable sources. But we're going to hear about games all day, and they're going to be right. I mean, they're generally always right. Do all the game leaks bug you in any way, or is it cool that we learn of some before the ballyhooed release?
I don't care. I worry about bad information making its way onto PFT. I mean, because if it's bad information, it's on us, even if it's somebody else reporting that. I learned that years ago when we killed Terry Bradshaw. Even though we didn't kill him, we posted on the report out of Shreveport that he had died, when in fact somebody had died on the Terry Bradshaw Passway, which resulted in Terry Bradshaw passed away. And I just regurgitated that without confirming one way or the other or debunking, and that sticks. So I don't traffic. They have to be reliable reports. We have to feel like they're from people who, they have a reputation on the line. It can't be some fly-by-night, who the hell is that guy type of report. But, yeah, if they come out, we put them out there. The league likes to hold it all until 8 o'clock Eastern, but it's so much to digest at one time. If some of it comes out early, so be it. Let's go. Let's break it down. Let's start thinking about it, because it's too much to get your arms around when it comes out all at once.
Wait, is NFL Net, and that's ProFootballTalk.com, PFT, we saw it last week. Is NFL Network partnering with ESPN, and will there no longer be NFL Network soon, or what's the deal?
Well, the talk last week was, and it's felt for months as if ESPN is going to come in and take over NFL media. And NFL is going to have part of the equity in ESPN, and ESPN is going to run NFL media. They've been scaling down NFL Network to nothing. They have no live programming. Total Access gone. They pulled Good Morning Football off the air for months. They bring it back for one show at a time, and then it disappears again. They did it today to talk about the international games, but tomorrow they won't be on, which just makes no sense. It makes no sense. I don't think the NFL cares about NFL Network right now because it's in the process of offloading it to ESPN. I don't know what happens with the destination. I don't know what they call it. If they do a mashup of ESPN, maybe it's ESPN FLN. I don't know. But, yeah, when you look at the listings for NFL Network, it's just NFL films, specials, and old games.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So who knows? They had very grandiose ideas for it when they launched it in 2003. It never got real traction. It never got the kind of carriage on cable systems that it wanted. And without live games, what is it really? And I think the NFL is starting to realize, instead of having our own network where we have a smattering of live games, we can just sell those live games to the highest bidder and make more money that way.
All right, and lastly, because I have all your albums, including your greatest hits, another I got from ProFootballTalk.com. Question, Mike Florio, do you think Tom Brady will be a quality analyst with Fox? And how about that $7 million pay cut they put on Greg Olson? Holy cow.
I don't know how Tom Brady's going to be, but I know this. He's going to be under the most pressure and the greatest scrutiny of any broadcaster ever. And I keep hearing, well, he's working really hard. He's going to work really hard. Well, I could work really hard at brain surgery, and you wouldn't want me operating on your brain. So there's a certain level of competence that is kind of innate and natural, and it's not really learned. You have to know how to talk in sound bites. You have to be able to say something articulate. You can't be paralyzed by your fear of saying something you're going to get dragged for on social media. He's so overexposed right now. Yeah. That roast was such a bad idea. Yeah. He's everywhere on social media. It's kind of like a combination of a midlife crisis, and he had 20 years operating under the ball and chain of Bill Belichick. I was saying today on PFT Live, it's like the kid who never drank a drip or drop of alcohol until he turned 21, and now is drunk every night. Like, he went all those years without doing it, and he's making up for lost time, and it's just too much. It's too much, and it's going to make people resent him. He's going to get criticized. He's going to get dragged constantly on social media, and we'll see how that all plays out. And through all of that, he'll get compared apples to apples with whatever Greg Olson did that same day. Probably earlier that day in the 1 o'clock window, there's Greg Olson on the number 2 game for Fox, and at 4:25, there's Tom Brady. And we just heard Olson for 3 hours, and now we get to hear Brady, and there's a chance people are going to say, I like the other guy better.
You're the very best. ProFootballTalk.com's Mike Florio. Have a wonderful week and call you soon.
See you, Paul.
Mike Florio, PFT.
PFT.
Yeah, you know we.